Well, if you're like myself, it always helps at the beginning of a course to be able to see the person who authored the course. My name is Donnie Wise. I'm both the instructor and the author of this course, as well as the CEO and founder of QuickieTech. The particular topic that we're going to be covering in this course is long overdue, and educators all across America really are in need of a new kind of skill set as our country continues to be culturally diverse. And this skill set is the skill set of being able to have a scientific way to advance the academic performance of African Americans and Latinos through research-based, in-classroom, workable and practical methodologies. We know the matter of race can be a sticky topic, and in the media, whether it's under the category of education, entertainment, police activity on the streets, workplace, and a variety of other areas such as politics, the matter of race is a debate topic. In this particular course, though, we are going to touch the matter of race in a very specific way. And it helps to know that to talk about race is not to be racist. In other words, in this course, we intend to take an objective, well-balanced, and well-intended approach to examining how race and how a person's race impacts their learning experience and their academic performance. And we will show you how being culturally sensitive and culturally responsive and knowledgeable of research-based methodologies, you can advance the academic performance of African Americans and Latinos. What do we mean by the achievement gap? We can't be blind to the fact that there is this phenomenon called the academic achievement gap. And what it refers to is it refers to the difference in academic performance between underrepresented minorities of African American and Latino descent and their white and Asian counterparts. For instance, if you just look at the 2015 average reading scores of SAT participants, Latinos and African Americans are in the 400s, and white and Asians are in the 500s. And you'll be doing some research yourself to get some clarity and to build some assurance, even in your own mind, that such a gap does exist. And so, what does it mean to close the achievement gap? Really what it means is it means to bring African Americans and Latinos up to a level of academic performance that is on par and equal to their white and Asian counterparts. I want to convince you of this particular point at the very beginning of this course, because you're going to go through a lot of internal feelings as you examine your own biases and prejudices. There are some of you who feel it's best to be colorblind. Others of you realize that if you're colorblind, then you're blind to an individual's identity and a very big aspect of their learning experience. Some of you are white female teachers. Others of you are Asian male educators. At the very beginning of this course, I want to say, no matter what race you are, after going through the research that is presented in this course, you will love being a teacher more after this course than you did when you began. And I believe you will be inspired by the research and absolutely convinced that no matter what your background is, no matter what your race is, you can be a top educator that promotes and advances the academic performance of any minority child. It's proven. All you have to do is follow certain key steps. Let me articulate these steps now. Number 1, hold all your students to the same high standards and have high expectations for each and every one of them, regardless of their race. If you're a student and you come into my math class, I don't care who you are, what your family background is, whether you have married or divorced parents, whether you love math or you don't love math, you will perform at high standards in my classroom. And I have full expectation that regardless what your experience was in other classrooms, other schools, or with peers or companions, and regardless of whether you think that as a minority student you're good at math or not, you will perform at the highest levels in my course. Number 1, hold your students to high standards. Number 2, it's very important to actively, as a teacher, combat what is called the stereotype threat. There are some African Americans that they just think because they're African American, they're not good at chemistry. Actually, that's a stereotype. And as an educator in this course, you'll learn how to combat actively that stereotype threat. Number 3, give your students a positive perspective of their history. If a student says, you know what, because I'm a descendant of those that are from Africa, I'm just not good at science. I'm not good at math. I'm not good at geometry. After this course, you should be able to fire back a counter narrative like this. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely false. In 2500 BC, the Egyptians, who are from Africa, and if you're an African American, very likely your ancestors were from some area in Africa, such as Egypt. They built pyramids. And the amount of geometry they needed to build those pyramids with exactness was a mathematical capability that exhibited very high critical thinking. As an African American, you have mathematics expertise in your blood. I don't ever want to hear you say again that because you're African American, you're not good at math. So you learn how to not only give a positive perspective of history, but let's go to the 4th item. Learn to show positive mentors. If you have a Spanish girl in her class and she's sulking because she doesn't feel like she can do well academically, point her to Sonia Sotomayor. Who was she? She was a young girl from Puerto Rico who had a health problem. And today she sits on the Supreme Court. As a young Latino or Hispanic girl, you have the ability to reach the highest levels of government if that's what you so choose, despite any disability that you have. Anyway, pointing to someone in history is very powerful. Okay, so let's review those first 4 points. Hold your students to high academic standards. Combat what you will learn as is called the stereotype threat. Give them a positive view of history and point them to a good mentor. That is someone of their same race who in the past has overcome obstacles and become academically performant. And then the last 4 points is learn to be culturally sensitive and responsive. Learn to build positive counter narratives that combat negative thinking and self-defeatist attitudes among your students. And then the last 2 points is help your students have what is called a growth mindset. Don't worry, we'll cover this, but this is extremely critical. That your students learn that they are not fixed in their intelligence, but they can approach new ideas as challenges that help them grow mentally. And then the last thing I'd like to point out is learn to be a listener. Listen to your students. Just because someone is African American or Latino doesn't mean anything about them, quite honestly. They're individuals. They're unique. And so there should be no generalization placed upon any student. So listen to them for who they are. Anyway, I'd like to just welcome you to this course. And I hope this course inspires you and that you would memorize some of these points. Like, for instance, the 8 points that I just presented. Hold people to high standards. Combat stereotype threats. Give them a positive view of history. Help them see positive role models and mentors. Be culturally sensitive, culturally responsive. Build counter narratives. Help them have a growth mindset. And last of all, listen. I hope you also in this course will really log in your memory some of these points. Have a great time, and I'll be interacting with you, and let's learn together and close the gap of academic achievement for our minority students. Thank you very much.